Before we begin, I want to give a quick shout out and thanks to Siorian Q8, I hope I'm not butchering your name, for donating me the money to be able to review this game. Now, I also want to apologize about the fact that this review should have been out about a month ago, but with school and everything taking up a bunch of my time, I just haven't been able to get around to it. But I am here now. I also want to give another quick heads up. Although this game was pretty much donated to me, I will be giving it my 100% honest review. I will not pamper what I'm going to say or beat around the bush about how I feel about this game. So, without further ado, let's begin. Hey guys, Epsy here. Today we're going to talk about Senran Kagura Estival Versus. Estival Versus is a third-person brawler developed by TamSoft. There are two different versions available, but for this review we are covering the North American version. Estival Versus is about a group of ninja girls who are pulled into a different dimension. In this alternate dimension, they are forced to be part of this festival / ritual that will allow the souls of many dead ninjas to be put to rest. Me being a huge Senran Kagura fan to begin with, I felt like I would have somewhat of a positive bias towards it if I were to go and review it as is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically review it from the perspective of somebody who has never played this game before or has never heard of Senran Kagura nor watched the animes or anything of the sort. So I just want to give that as a quick heads up before I continue. Estival Versus follows in the same vein as many games like Sengoku Basara, Dynasty Warriors, and Samurai Warriors. So if you've played games like that, you'll feel right at home with this. But the one thing you may have noticed right off the bat is there's a lot of fan service, and it's all girls. Now, this isn't a complaint or anything of the sort. This is just something I want to give a heads up to because I know there are people who are just not a fan of senseless fan service and whatnot. So if you're not one of those people, I'd automatically turn back now. The combat system in this game is pretty straightforward. You have your light attacks, you have your heavy attacks, you can pick up items along the map and use them, and then you have a couple transformations. The transformations in this game are what I find a little bit unique compared to many other brawlers because they take on a, in my opinion, different approach. You have one mode where you basically get more attack power but reduce your defense, and this is called Frenzy mode. And then you have another mode where you get basically you go into a hyper mode and you get stronger attacks and whatnot, and you regenerate your health. And this is just basically the Shinobi transformation. I like this touch because it allows the game to have basically different avenues of play. You can either play super aggressive, super defensive, go all in, or basically play how you choose. On top of that, the game allows you to interact with the stage as well, like wall running and doing many other things that most games don't allow you to do. There are even, for a lack of better wording, ecchi finishers where you basically put the girls in somewhat awkward positions and whatnot if you beat them in certain ways, which basically allows you to exploit and explore the stage as much as possible. And then to top it all off, they allow you to, when you're fighting, find these little platforms that if you break them and you find all of them in your battle, you unlock accessories that you can buy in the shop, you can unlock artwork, music to listen to, and so forth. Now, although this seems pretty simplistic and straightforward, they do one thing that aggravates the heck out of me when I see it, and it's they front load you. As soon as you see your character and you are able to begin moving, they slap you with a paragraph right in your face to tell you, hey, read this, this is how everything works. And as soon as you hit X, you're pretty much hit with another one within 10 seconds. The problem that I see with this is that when you do this, developers don't realize that there's two problems with front loading. A, the player usually wants to play and not read. And B, even if they do read it, a lot of that information isn't retained because they're still learning the game. They won't remember everything that you throw at them, or they won't remember that one specific thing until they actually drill it into memory. And although I said that there are only two issues with front loading, there's an actual third one which I just remembered. And it's that despite them throwing all this information at you at once, they will tend to leave out information that is actually very important. And this game is no exception. A good example of this is when you hit the results screen. You'll see that you get your grade, you see your X go up, and if you leveled up, you see the time you took, how many enemies you killed, and whatnot. But then you'll see these three little gauges at the bottom under mastery that say Flash, Yin, and Yang. Now, you don't know what they're for, and the game never tells you. And if you want to figure out what they're for, you're going to have to either go online or ask a buddy who actually plays and knows what it is, or whatnot. And this is a big problem because, like, with all that front loading, that kind of information should be there. as a player, when I hit the results screen, I want to know what those things are, so maybe I can improve on them, or maybe I can know what kind of playstyle I have if they mention that kind of thing, or if they're about that. And moreover, I shouldn't have to leave your game to learn about your game, unless it's something that I'm doing on my own free time. But not during the game should I be doing that. Another thing that I want to mention is that despite the fact that this game gives you a lot of options in terms of how you can play or how you can go about fighting an enemy, you tend to only narrow it down to one specific way of playing, and I've even seen this online. You're getting weak, use your Shinobi transformation. Oh, you want to clear through these waves of enemies really fast and you know you won't get touched? Use your Hyper Trans or your Frenzied mode. And is there a lot of enemies around you and you kind of need to clear them out really quick? Jump and hit heavy attack. And because of this, it leaves the game to end up being in a somewhat spammy style. I remember it even when I was playing online, I was fighting this Ayane, and yes, you heard right, Ayane from DOA. I'll get into that later. I was fighting this Ayane, and she literally was just spamming this one attack over and over and over. And this was all while I was airborne. And I wasn't able to get out of it until she messed up. And then when she did that, I proceeded to hit her with the same move over and over and over. And if there was an attack I didn't really know how to get around, I would literally jump and heavy attack and slam to the ground, which everybody literally has that same move, just a different look, and get around it. And because of that, it is a little disappointing to see, because it's like 9 times out of 10, you won't waste your Shinobi transformation by using Frenzy. Like, the odds of you using Frenzy mode is slim to none. And your Shinobi transformation, you will never use it until you are like a sliver of health left, since it literally puts you back to full health again. Now, aside from the combat itself, I find the stages to be amazing. I remember there was this one stage where I was running down this forest, and then all of a sudden there was a river, and I was able to go, and there was a bridge connecting from the forest to a castle, and I was able to go under the bridge and run around and whatnot. I thought that was really nice, because a lot of games tend to be very straightforward, and it's either a big square or a big rectangle, where this actually, they have paths and this and that. And like I mentioned before, they make you sometimes, well, not make you, but they will have you sometimes look for these platforms so you can go and unlock things, and you'll actually go out of your way to do this. And I thought that was really cool, because like, this gives the game a little bit more depth. So once again, I just wanted to really commend them on putting something like that in, because I really, really like that touch. Now, for the modes that this game has, there are quite a few. You have game like regular story mode, you have mission mode, and you can go online, and I'll dive into online a little bit more in depth after this. But there's also the shop where you can go to, and you can even dress up your character and change their outfits and whatnot. The dressing room is pretty much as I mentioned before. You get to change your character's costumes, and then after that you could take it a little bit further by being able to change their poses, being able to make them take pictures in groups or solo. Then you could take it even further by changing the background, changing the screen filter, putting certain facial expressions on them, changing the emotions that kind of like spew off of them and whatnot. And it's really cool, because it's like, it really dives in there in that aspect. But then, oddly enough, in the costume area, it falls flat. Like, it's mostly, you take said costume from one person and you put it on another person, rather than being able to take said pants and put it on this outfit, and then said shirt and put it to this, said shoes and whatnot. The only thing that really gives you real variation is just the accessories. And also for colors, you get only a set amount of colors, which really bothers me, because it's like, hey, I want to change my character's outfit. I want to be able to wear these pants with these shoes. If I have to wear these pants with these shoes and I cannot change that, that bothers me. And I know that sounds minor, but me, I've always been a customization freak. Playing games like APB and whatnot, you can literally change almost every aspect of your character. And being given the premise of that here, but not being able to take it as far as you would expect, or even to that degree, really does upset me a bit. And just a quick note, yes, the costumes that you put on your characters can be worn in-game in battle, and yes, you can make them appear in the cutscene. There's an option to toggle that on and off. This leads to the shop. In the shop, you're able to use the zenny and whatnot that you actually build in matches, and buy more clothes, more accessories, buy songs, buy backgrounds, and etc. And just as a quick little story here. I remember when I first got in the shop, and I was looking through, and I was like, wow. And then I see it says smile at the bottom for 0 centi. And I go and buy it, and I'm like, oh shit, the smile is free. And then I bought it, and then I was like, oh. So yeah. But the shop does have that, and then it has a lottery system, literally called lottery. And you can spend up to a certain amount of zenny to increase your chances or your odds of getting something really good in the lottery thing. But the problem that I have with this is the shop is great. I have no problem with the shop. But the lottery is where I have a problem. And it's not the fact that it's the lottery. It's what you win out of it. Like, I've rolled day in and day out, and all I've gotten were bikinis. I've never gotten any accessories. I've never gotten any clothes. I don't know if it's just me being very, very unlucky. But for it to have that many bikinis in there, and they all almost look the same. Like, it got to the point where I was rolling so much where I couldn't tell whether I had already received this bikini already or whether I have not, despite whether I got on the low end of the scale or the high end of the scale. And even though they tell you that you already have this or not, and they refund it to you, it just bothered me because it's like, hey, there is no point in rolling this lottery if all I'm going to get is the same style bikini, just different colors all the time. So I would like to see that get changed a little bit. Finally, let's talk about online. Online, I had quite a bit of trouble getting to online for the first maybe week and a half of being able to play the game. I just wasn't around to getting PS Plus just yet. But I got it, and I got in there. And I'll be honest, I was really, really disappointed, but at the same time, not shocked. Online basically puts you up against other players or puts you with other players to either fight other players or NPCs or AI. And there are modes like defend the tower, survival, free-for-all, team battle. And it's very generic. Like, literally, if you're going to play online, don't expect anything different out of this compared to story mode. Except that everybody has to ready up, everybody chooses their character, everybody chooses the time limit. Well, that the leader chooses the time limit. You have to find rooms or create rooms. It's literally copy pasta of every other online console game you've played of this style. Now, the problem that I have with this is, which was also pretty expected, is that games like this don't tend to keep a player base or an online player base that long. So, like, if you decide to wait a few months to get this game after it came out or at the time of this video, don't expect a lot of online to be there unless you have buddies that you can play with all the time. Now, this was also another problem because it's like, I really wanted to dive into online a lot, but I was only able to really find one match, and that was the match where I fought the Ayane and a couple other people. And that's just it. That's the most I can literally say about online. And although it is fun, but it's literally nothing different from the story mode. And also, before I forget, this game has a healthy roster of characters. When I first started playing, I assumed that there was going to be maybe 6, 7, 8 characters max, and that was it. But this game has pretty much around 20 characters, and then there are some that you can go and, buy through DLC. And this is where Ayane from DOA comes in, and there are a couple of other characters. But there is a big problem with this. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the review, there are 2 versions of this game. There's the NA version and there's the Japanese version. I'm assuming it's the Japanese version. And in the NA version, you get the characters that I just mentioned. But in the Japanese version, there's also another set of characters that you can get from a popular manga. I don't know if you know about it, but it's called Ikitosen. And there are characters that are actually from that manga as well in this game. But in the NA version, you will not get that. Now, why I find that to be a problem is because, like, now, for people who bought the NA version, like, they're, without knowing, they're automatically not getting the full game. They're pretty much getting just a good portion of the game, but they're still missing out on certain ones. And yes, the game is cross-compatible online-wise, so that means NA players can fight JP players and whatnot if they have different versions. But, like, if you're fighting somebody who's using an Ikitosen character, you'll see that they're going to look like a completely custom character rather than the Ikitosen character itself. And once again, it just limits the experience. I really wish that they didn't do this, and from what I was told by Syrian, they did this because it was a publishing kind of issue, like with copyright or whatever, and because they couldn't bring the Ikitosen characters to the NA version. What they should have done, in my opinion, was just simply launch one version. and just make it either Japanese only or international and have people import that with the ability to be able to play it in English, just like DOA Beach Volleyball did. Because, like, once again, I just find that very annoying. Like, now I can't play as Ryomu or Hakufu or, what's her name? Kanma? I forgot her name. The blue-haired staff. And that really bothered me because I couldn't do that. And another thing I want to mention is the DLC. I'm not against the DLC or whatnot. Like, yeah, you can buy the characters, but there are some DLC that I just feel like is a little oddly placed. Like, you could buy the accessories or extra accessories and clothes for, and yeah, they're like $1 each, but I just felt like that should have been the lottery system, not as DLC, because it's like, I don't really want to spend, you know, despite how little it is, just to get the accessories that I'm kind of missing in game. It just felt out of place, if you ask me. Now, with all that out of the way, you're probably wondering, how do I feel about the game? And if I could give it a rating, I'd give it a 5 out of 9. Like, it's a decent game, and if you have the spare change, I recommend picking this up. You might not be playing it for too long, unless you have friends that you're constantly playing with, or unless you're just a big fan of this kind of game. The replayability seems to drop off the more you unlock things, or the more things you buy through DLC. And the fact that the options are stiff, like I said, with the costumes, that really is another reason why you probably won't stick to this too long. Some of the things that I'm just really not fond of is just the excessive front loading that they do at the beginning, and then just completely leaving out certain information that they should have brought to your attention while they were front loading. And one of my biggest gripes is just the fact that, like I said, there are certain characters that you cannot get in the NA version, but you can get in the Japanese version. So I literally have to stress this one more time. Get the Japanese version. Do not buy the English version, because you're literally just missing out. Now, don't get me wrong, this game is a great pick up and play game. The controls are very nice. The roster is pretty plentiful. And on top of it, like I said, if you're willing to play this with a buddy, that just makes it even better. But the fact that the online will only continue to depreciate as time passes on, and the fact that there are a lot of go-to moves, or the ability to just spam infinite combos or infinite loops, does put me off a little bit. Then after that, it's just the odd DLC barrier where, like, accessories are bought, but then the lottery system has nothing but bikinis. It just, But like I said, this is a game that I could recommend looking into if you're into this kind of game. But thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Most importantly, be safe, have fun, and dive into imagination. I'll catch you guys later.
What?